Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to Inner Space Family and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers. Everybody knows this evening's theme. Very interesting topic. The gift of inner freedom. Yes, yeah, very deep topic, and for that we have our speaker, Rachel, with us. I think I know Rachel for many years, and she's always smiling publicly. She is versatile and efficient. And Rachel's career spans librarianships, urban regenerations, public reaction, marketing, events, and art manager. And also, Rachel has been practicing for over 20 years. So this evening we'll have a wealth of experience. And currently she is based in our headquarters in Global Corporation House. And she supports media, public engagement, and interfaith initiatives.
Thank you, Kapal, and a very warm welcome on a cold day. Those of you at home are a bit warmer than probably we are, having got here. So yeah, as Kapal was saying, it's an interesting topic today, the gift of inner freedom. And I thought, well, we're all getting into Christmas mode, and we're thinking about what gifts we're going to get and what gifts we're going to give. So what's the greatest gift that we can both give and get ourselves? Give ourselves inner freedom. And it's a big word. What does it actually mean? And how can we experience that in ourselves? And it's something that I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, as Kapal says, it's 20 years now since I've been on this path. And if you told me 21 years ago, I'd have said thank you. So it's more a surprise to me and my friends than it is to anybody. But something that I experienced very soon after I started meditating was exactly that. It was a taste of a freedom from things that I felt very restricted by. And I used to use the analogy of a straitjacket, that you're wrapped up in and you can't move, and your arms are bound. And I really felt that I was in a straitjacket of the personality that I created for myself. And there were bits of it that were perfectly good, but there were some bits which were just actually not helping me, habits I'd got into, responses, patterns of responding that I'd got into that were actually just sabotaging me and making me quite unhappy. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of energy searching for how to get rid of these things and how to find myself, really. And I actually sat down and worked out once I'd had 28 addresses in 28 years. So I was good at searching. I kept looking. And I kept thinking it'll be in this job, or it'll be in this place, or it'll be in this hobby. I'll find what it is that I need to be who I want to be and not to be who I don't want to be, which was happening more than I wanted. And I was very fortunate to come across Raja Yoga meditation, the Brahma Kumaris in Cambridge. And really very soon afterwards, I just started feeling differently about myself, because one of our basic teachings, is anyone here for the first time, actually? No? So you're kind of familiar. Okay. And for anyone online, just briefly, so what our basic teaching is that I'm a soul. I'm not my house, I'm not my family, I'm not my job, I'm not my bank account, I'm not my history, I'm not even my opinions. I'm a soul. And the freedom that gave me. When I was told, I actually burst out crying with relief. I was kind of like late 40s, and I looked at my life and I thought, what have I done with it, And there's a very nice quote, actually, lots of lovely quotes about freedom. There's a very nice quote by the French philosopher Albert Camus. You might know him, he's quite well known. And he said, freedom is just the chance to change and improve myself, or something like that. That's how it's translated. And that's actually exactly how I felt. I'd felt, before I started meditating, I'd really come to a halt in my life and just didn't know what to do with myself, or didn't see any purpose in it, really. And And then it was just that feeling is that through understanding myself in a completely different way, and it's not that I'm still Rachel, and I'm still with my family, and I'm still, I'm not doing my work anymore, but I was, and so it's not that I stopped, but in my mind. So it's that inner freedom of just not being so defined by all the labels, by all the roles that I play and the responsibilities I have, which can be, they can be very oppressive at times. So I can put a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself simply because I'm identifying with that role or that responsibility or that idea or that expectation. And so, that was a kind of eye-opener for me. And also, I was thinking just now, actually, when I was sitting in the meditation room, and I was thinking, a huge difference it made for me also was this sense of understanding life and death in a different way. Because I don't think any of us expect to live forever. It's quite unlikely in terms of being in this body. But if I understand that I am an eternal soul, and not only I'm an eternal soul, but members of my family, people I love, are also eternal souls, then when something happens to them, when it's time for them to move on, then there's not that panic of we've lost them, they've gone. Of course, we miss them in the sense that they're not around us, but, whether it was with my mother or with many people who've left since I've been meditating, it's not that I'm callous and I don't care. Of course I care, and I appreciate them, and I'm so grateful for them. But there wasn't that alarm or distress that they've gone and that's it. Because I just know in my heart that isn't it, and that they're on a journey and they're going somewhere else. So freedom from that fear of death for myself or for other people was something that was huge. But let's think a little bit, first of all, about this whole idea of inner freedom, and how does it manifest itself, and how do we help it manifest itself? So, inner freedom is that sense of I don't feel like I'm being forced by anything, or driven by anything, or compelled by anything, or limited by anything. Because so much of what does limit us or restrict us in our lives has actually got nothing to do with external restrictions. It's got to do with my own mindset, my own mentality, how I see myself. Another famous philosopher, Rousseau, French philosopher, a little bit earlier on, said, man was born free, but everywhere is in chains. And, he was talking about socially and the social lack of freedom. But actually, our mental freedom or our spiritual freedom is really such a valuable thing to cherish and to recognize and to nurture, is this sense that, all of these things that, I thought were chains, or that I thought was a restriction or a straitjacket, that's just the personality I'm playing, but it's not who I am. And I can change if I want to. I can do things differently. I'll still be me, but I don't have to be trapped or restricted by who I've been or how I've been until now. And I remember someone telling me years ago, and it just caught me, like in the Victorian era, they used to have dancing fleas, performing fleas, and apparently they were a kind of quite an exciting thing at markets, which just shows that there wasn't much going on in the entertainment world then. I think it was long before YouTube and fun fairs. But they thought that dancing fleas, performing fleas, was really very interesting. And how did they train fleas to perform? They would put them in little boxes of different sizes, so that one flea would just assume, after being in that box for a while, that they could just go that much. And another flea, being in a bigger box, could just go that much. And so that they would they would design it so that they would go the height that they thought they could go. And I think that's with all of us, is that we put ourselves in a box, or we allow ourselves to be put in a box, because a lot of people are around to help us. And so it's just recognizing that I don't need to be defined by that box anymore. And maybe we got into that box because at one point it was actually a feeling of safety. But after a while, that sense of comfort, it can actually be quite uncomfortable. If I stay within the risk area, if I stay within that comfort zone, I'm actually not expressing myself. I'm not allowing myself to be free. So being free is, yes, that feeling free from restriction. And also, obviously the obvious understanding is being free from any oppression, free from any controlling. And of course, there's the external and freedom from tyranny, or freedom from imprisonment, or whatever, which is very real, and a lot of people are dealing with that. But I think there's also a tyranny that we have inside ourselves, and sometimes if we listen to the way we speak to ourselves, it's pretty unkind, it's pretty controlling, it's not very empowering. And so there's that tyranny of that inner voice, that negative inner voice. And also the tyranny maybe of, yes, my fears, my negative feelings, and my coping mechanisms. And it may be being a little bit greedy, or being a little bit bossy, getting a bit angry, being a bit selfish. And none of us wakes up thinking, oh, I want to be angry today, I want to be selfish today. So nobody chooses to be that, but there are all ways that we cope with difficult and very uncomfortable and very painful feelings. And of course, the more that we can learn to free ourselves from these coping mechanisms, from these very uncomfortable feelings, the happier we will be. And it's interesting that these negative concepts like greed or anger or ego or lust or attachment, all of these things, they're actually called vices. And what is a carpenter's vice? It's something that grips the piece of wood so that he can work on it. And it's like that's what happens with these vices or these coping mechanisms, is that they grip me. And, I'm not free because they are ruling my life. And it's based on fear, and it's based, why am I angry? It's because I'm trying to find happiness. It's because I'm trying to hold on to love, or I'm trying to, understand something. So the initial, original intention is good, but I'm using the wrong and unhelpful mechanisms for it. So, freedom from that kind of inner tyranny. But I also thought inner freedom is, you say to someone, are you free? Inner freedom is also about being open, being available. And they're all very much connected, because, of course, when I'm in fear, that's when I'm not free. That's not when I'm not open. And when I'm being driven by something, then I'm not flexible. I'm not able to adapt. So I think, we all want to be free. We all want to be natural. We want to be our best selves. And what I'm finding is that, I have to do that kind of inner work of which I do through Raja Yoga meditation. There are many different ways, but here we practice Raja Yoga meditation, Raja to become the master of my own mind, so not the slave of my mind, but the master of my mind. So that then I start to observe, what is it that's pushing me or pulling me? What are the little sensitive areas where if somebody presses that, ouch, and I react in a way that I don't want to. And I suffer for it afterwards, and my relationships suffer also. So in Raja Yoga meditation, what we do, the basic thing is to just start observing what I'm thinking, how I'm responding, what I'm feeling. And not from a critical viewpoint, because we've got quite good at that, because that's got to become a habit. We criticize other people, we criticize ourselves, we've that critical faculty, which has its uses. It's very important. The buddhi, the intellect, is very important, but it can be misused to just always find things that are wrong. And I think particularly with ourselves, we're very good at that. I remember a lovely thing being sent around on WhatsApp about a couple of years ago. There's this young boy, and he said, whatever you practice, you get good at. If you practice being angry, you get good at that. If you practice complaining, you get good at that. If you practice being critical. You get good at that. Well, I think we've got pretty good at criticizing ourselves. And because we're good at criticizing ourselves, we end up criticizing everybody else as well. So, creating the feelings that I want to have inside myself is really what inner freedom is all about. Free to be me, free to be who I really am inside. And those of you who are familiar with that here, what we teach here and what we practice here, and what we're constantly learning here, is that who am I really? Yes, I'm a soul, that's one thing, but what kind of a soul? And, what are the qualities that I have inside me? What are my specialities? What's the beauty of the soul? How often do I give time to really considering the goodness inside me, the sweetness, the wisdom, the loving kindness, the compassion, all of these things that make us so rich and so valuable. But so often we just spend time thinking about the things that are wrong, observing the things that are wrong. And what we do in Raja Yoga meditation is that we really make it a discipline to focus on, to experience, to nurture that goodness, that beauty, that richness, that wealth that we have inside ourselves. Because only when I have that awareness of my true self, not the character of Rachel and all her funny personalities and all the things she's done or hasn't done and they said and she didn't say or whatever. If we're more aware of who we really are inside, then immediately we feel happier. We're more relaxed, we're more confident, we're more honest with ourselves, we're more honest with everybody else, because we're comfortable with ourselves. And so often what stops us being comfortable with ourselves is that one or other tyranny, one or other trap that we've got ourselves into, the habit that we've got ourselves into, or an expectation that maybe somebody else has had or we've had of ourselves, and because we don't meet it, we're not satisfied, and the criticism starts. But just think about how it is when I do have that sense of freedom. There's no sense of being dependent on anything, on anyone, on anything happening. That I know my own worth. I know my own goodness. I know my own value. And so then it's much easier to be flexible. If I react to something, if I'm angry with someone, if I'm not happy about something, it's usually because something isn't the way I want it to be. I don't like this. And why don't I like this? Because it makes me feel uncomfortable inside. So in Raja Yoga, what we do is we actually look at what is it? What is this thing that's uncomfortable inside? Because so often it's actually got nothing to do or very little to do with the other person or with the situation. It's really got to do with the something inside me that I haven't dealt with, that I haven't acknowledged because it's too scary, or it's like, don't want to go there. And as long as I don't acknowledge it, and as long as I don't actually sit with it and accept it, and with compassion for myself and self-respect, just say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this to be ruling me anymore. This habit is hurting me, and it's hurting my relationships. So if I start, doing it in a very kind and gentle way, then I can start letting go of things. I can start changing. Because I think many of us here are parents, and you never change a child by saying, don't do that, in a cross way. It's with love, it's with encouragement, it's with understanding, it's with respect. And they pick that up. I really love language, and I love the history of language. And so I always kind of look up the origins of words. And quite interesting about the origin of the word freedom. It's the Indo-European frion. is that it's exactly the same root as the word for friend. And actually, those of you who speak Hindi, priya, friyan priya, it's the same word. So the beloved, the friend, the one who is dear. And that's the freedom. And so the root of that is freedom, and the root of that is friendship. So it's like when there's freedom inside myself, I'm being a friend to myself. I'm not putting myself in, a situation of conflict inside of, ding dong, or my conscience says this, and my activities are doing this, or my heart says this, and my mind says this. But I'm creating a sense of comfort, a sense of flow, a sense of, natural way of being, but also a sense of mastery, that I'm in charge, and that there isn't this constant tug of this side and that side. So I really love this idea, the connection between freedom and friendship, being a friend to myself. And this is what we're learning in meditation, is to shift, is to change the dialogue that I have with myself, and to start speaking to myself with that self-respect, with that, vision, just how God sees me, with the high vision that God sees me, one of his special children, each one unique, each one with those qualities of peace, of love, of wisdom, of happiness, of purity. Every single one has those innate qualities, and I have them too. But I have to remember to see it, to keep reminding myself, this is true, and not to be just in the straitjacket of my personality or my role or my position in life. Because that's when I start to feel vulnerable. That's when I'm uneasy, and that's when I start using those coping mechanisms that actually cause a lot of trouble. So when there's that sense of being free, being loving with myself, kind to myself, then it's automatic that I will start to feel more accepting. It's like, yes, okay, we've all made mistakes. Who in the whole world has never made a mistake? We've made mistakes. What do I need to do now? How can I learn from it? And, with acceptance comes adjusting. So somebody wants something different. Somebody's not happy with that. Can I adjust a little bit to accommodate them? So there's a sort of easiness that comes when I'm not fixed on something or someone being a certain way. If I'm fixed, these things called expectations, which cause such trouble in our lives. Expectation is actually just a desire. I want you to be like this. Well, they're not. I can want it, but who set up the expectation? I did. And an expectation is just a photograph that I've taken of the future. And when it isn't like that, I'm not pleased. Well, who took the photograph? So it's learning to just be more accepting of myself and also of other people. But also a very important part of freedom is being aligned with my values. So we talked about that, being aware of who I really am and my qualities, but not just knowing about it, but living it. And there's a lovely word in Hindi called chen, which means, I think, comfort, or something is translated as comfort. But someone translated it as the feeling I have when I'm doing what I know is right. And that's the greatest comfort, actually. I mean, there are lots of comforts which you can buy in shops, but the real comfort is when I'm aligned with my own values, and I'm comfortable in my own self, and I'm comfortable with my conscience. And that's a very important part of it. And then another very important element, which comes when I feel, I'm developing that inner freedom, is that sense of, strangely, responsibility. Because free will, it's like it's my choice. And this is the most important thing about meditation, the meditation we practice, is that it's my choice what I think. It's my choice what I feel. So often we blame other people or our circumstances for how we feel. but actually I can choose how I feel. And I was thinking on the way here on the tube, and it was a pretty crowded tube and not very fragrant. And I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to meditate. I can't change the situation I'm in because it's getting me where I want to be, which is with you all. But I can have that freedom in my mind to go elsewhere. So I just sat there and I meditated. So the not so pleasantness, I mean, it's minor in the scheme of things, but the not so pleasant situation I was in, it's like the volume went down. That's just a very ordinary, everyday thing that just happened today. But it can also happen with very difficult situations. Perhaps I'm with a loved one and they're very sick. Perhaps I'm in a meeting and there's a lot of anger being shown. Perhaps I'm waiting for some news and it's not coming. There are many times when, or perhaps I'm physically not very well and there's a lot of pain in my body. This is when the capacity, the ability to meditate, to use my mind in a positive way is so helpful. And that frees me from the double pain. So one is the pain if I'm ill, one is the pain in my body, but two is the pain that I have in my mind about the pain in my body. And the same with all of these other situations. We will always come across different situations. But if I'm able to just use my mind, to control my mind, to be the master of my mind, so that I can step back from the situation mentally. I'm still here, I'm still present, I'm still helping, I'm still listening. But in my mind, I just step back a little bit. So the space inside my mind, and I can think clearly. And I'm not so affected by the emotions around me. That's freedom. And it's also power. And I was thinking, about what is freedom. And actually, one of the things that takes away our freedom is this word, I can't. I can't do this. I can't cope with this. I can't bear this anymore. That is a choice. And as somebody once said, I can't is a royal way of saying I don't want to. There's a bit of that. But I reckon that I can is actually the real meaning of power. Power isn't about holding a heavy fist or being bossy or forceful. Power is about just saying, I can do this. I can tolerate this. I can accept this. I can change. I can adapt. And that is freedom. Frees me from all the kind of distress that I can cause myself. But what really helps us, and I've talked about being aware of the soul, being aware of the qualities of the soul, myself, but also other people. But what really can give us power is that next step, which is in that awareness of being a soul, not this body, but a point of light, a spark of life energy in the middle of the forehead. Then in that awareness, I can then resonate with, I can connect with the divine, soul to soul. If it's a body, no. But if I'm seeing myself and experiencing myself as just light, then it's very easy to connect in a very loving, a very friendly relationship with the divine. Not as you're up there and I'm lowly and I'm terrible and I'm down here, but no, as a reunion of parent and child, or even two friends. Could be mother and child, could be father and child, could be a friend, could be, there are so many relationships. But it's in a relationship of love, and mutual love, mutual respect, mutual regard. And in that relationship and in that resonating with each other, that's when I really build up my power. And when I build up my power, when I have that sense of I can, it's like then I can let go of the things, those coping mechanisms. If I don't have that awareness of myself as who I am, and I don't have a connection with God, with the divine, then I won't have the power to let go of my irritation and my selfishness, all these things that I do to keep myself going, to cheer myself up, to try and keep control of things. But if instead of keeping a hold on those things and letting those things actually hold me, because they're gripping me actually, even if I'm gripping onto them. But if instead I hold on to God's hand, and I feel God's love, and I allow God's light and power to come into me and to strengthen me and fill me with that light and fill me with that sense of happiness and completeness, then I can let go of these things. Because it's like with a child. A child's not going to let go of a toy unless you show a better one. And so similarly, I'm not going to let go of all those coping mechanisms until I've found a better way, a much better way to be who I really want to be, to experience the peace and the happiness and the love that I really, truly want in my life. And that's through meditation, through connecting first of all with myself, the soul, and feeling those beautiful qualities, and then connecting with the one above, the supreme soul, and just feeling that vibration that we're sharing together. And in that vibration, there is this beautiful, beautiful sense of contentment, sense of love, sense of flow, but most importantly, a sense of freedom. So I'm going to stop here, and perhaps we could have a few questions if some have come either online or from all of you. It'd be really nice. Well, not just questions, any comments, any thoughts, any feedback, any stories. Would really like to hear them. Thank you. Anything that you didn't like, or you did like, or you thought was different, or you've heard it all before? Okay, well, I'll just keep going until you can think of something. Another thing which I didn't mention, another quote actually by the Greek historian Thucydides, who said, happiness depends on freedom. And freedom, what will freedom depend on? Freedom depends on courage. And I think that's a very important part, is that, freedom isn't a commodity that we can just get when we want it. Freedom requires our courage to make a step, to do something that slightly scares us, to let go of something which we've been holding on to. And but courage isn't, again, it's not a kind of strong, heroic, a huge stance. Courage is about changing the little things, small steps of self-reliance, as somebody once said. And, small steps of self-respect. So if you think about it, just over the next day, just observe your thinking. How can I help myself? How can I free myself from certain habits of speaking to myself that are not helpful, that are actually bringing me down, that are making me weak, that are making me feel I can't? And instead, I just give myself a little point of self-respect, the kind of soul I am, the qualities I have. Maybe there are certain values that I really love the most. Let me think about them. If I'm waiting for a bus, instead of getting a bit cross because it's late, wonderful. I've got 4 minutes to think about something lovely. Somebody, they're late. Okay. Or the computer isn't working. I'm not going to be able to do anything for 10 minutes. Fantastic. What an opportunity. Free time. So I think it's it's being a bit entrepreneurial, but just recognizing that whatever I use my mind for, however I use my mind, has such an impact on my life. And if I want to experience the feelings of love, the feelings of being peaceful, the feelings of being happy and cheerful and joyful, then I do need to also work on letting go of the other feelings, the criticism, the complaining, the blaming, whatever. And that's what I do. I always start from that position of self-respect, self-regard, self-love. Then I can look at those funny thoughts that I have and kind of smile at myself and have a bit of a sense of humor about it. So not to be forceful, not to be harsh on myself, but almost like being the kind parent, and this is the naughty little child, or the child who doesn't understand. So just start to remind myself of my own goodness, my own greatness, because it's in each and every one of us. And we live in a world that doesn't do that because it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell things. What sells things is making us feel not good enough, lesser, comparing ourselves with others. No point in doing that. But we have to do the work. Nobody will do it for us. We have to do the work to remind ourselves of really who we are, how valuable we are, how much wealth we have inside ourselves. And that will enable us to be free from all the influences, all the temptations, all the drives that come from external. And we can just step back and say, it's okay, I don't need to be affected by that. I can just stay free. Okay, we've still got a little bit of time. If anyone wants to comment anything, you seem to be very obedient and you're just nodding and not saying anything. But if anyone would like to say something personal, it'd be nice to hear from you. But if you don't, that's also fine. It's perfectly okay. Yeah, lovely.
You have talked about the feelings of love, feeling of happiness. But how do we stay? First of all, how do we invoke that feeling? So sometimes we can feel happy, but after 5 minutes it's all gone. Or in the morning when we do meditation, we are feeling relaxed, happy, joyful. But throughout the day, when you're working, that feeling is all gone. And just how do you maintain that feeling throughout the day?
That is such an important question, because it's not theory. And as you say, it can last for a couple of minutes. Well, it goes back to that American boy. What you practice, you get good at. And this is what we have to do. And this is why, in our centres we have traffic control every hour, controlling the traffic of the mind. And we've actually, in Global House, where I'm based, we've just extended it. It used to be a minute or a minute and a half, and it's now 3 minutes. Every hour music plays, and we put down... We stop at the computer, we put down our cookery things, we put down our tools, whatever we're doing, we stop and we meditate. Because you're right, there is such, particularly in these very busy lives, and we are constantly bombarded by negative things and unhappy things and scary things, and that's just the life at the moment that we're living in. So we really have to keep practicing. Keep uplifting ourselves, sustaining ourselves. Just like you would, if you had a little child that was unhappy, you'd know that you had to keep entertaining the child. Or even not just unhappy, it would just be a little bit bored. My mind is like a little child, and it just needs to be constantly entertained with love, with creativity, with enthusiasm, with humour. I have to do the same with myself. So really make that even if it's just just a minute or half a minute. We have these just a minute meditations, 1 minute meditations. That 1 minute can change the next 59. So really just give yourself a little bit of time to just step back. You're not running away, you're not, but you're just stepping back and you're just giving yourself a bit of space, a bit of freedom. In fact, actually, I was thinking that meditation, I often call it the great escape, because it's like, and one of the meditations we often have is about, and we'll do it just now, is about imagining ourselves in a world of souls. And I call this the great escape. It's like I've just let go of this idea of having a body, and I'm just this point of light, and I go up into this world of souls far, far away. And it's like I'm free from Rachel and all of Rachel's stories and all of Rachel's problems and all of Rachel's history, just for a little while. Then I can come back and I feel better and I can deal with Rachel. But yeah, just practice. But not, if we can do it with enthusiasm rather than, oh, I have to do this, that helps a lot. Anyway, having talked about that, shall we have a little meditation together? Okay, so just relax yourselves, sit comfortably. And you've been very good sitting quietly and still for a while, so if you want to move around a bit or Shift your shoulders, that's good. And just allow your bodies to come to a state of comfortable stillness, as if you're a kind of soft statue. So you don't need to move. The body doesn't need to do anything right now. You can rest your eyes perhaps on the point behind me, or here and the point here in the middle of my eyes, whichever you prefer. Don't force it, but just rest it. Just allow yourself to feel still. And for these few moments, you don't need to do anything. And imagine that tiny point of light in the middle of your own forehead. And this is who we all are. I am a point of life energy, a spark of light, a tiny star. And now I'm going to use my mind, my imagination, to take myself, I the soul, on a journey. And so I see this little star in the middle of my forehead, moving upwards, out of my body, through the ceiling, through the roof of this building, into the sky, moving upwards and upwards, through the clouds, past the sun and the moon and the stars, up, up and away, until I come to a world of golden red light. It's a most beautiful world. It's just like a sunset. Pink, golden red light all around me. And in this world of light, there are lots of tiny, tiny stars just like I am. All of them sparkling. And there's one star that shines brighter than any other. And I'm pulled towards it. And the closer I get, the deeper I feel a sense of contentment and safety and happiness. I, the soul, in my home in the world of souls, with my parent, reunited, soul and supreme soul, child and parent, together again. And I feel so much love coming from the divine, filling me up. Enlivening me, empowering me. And I decide now, it's time to go back. But I hold on to those feelings, that sense of that beautiful connection. That relationship with my parent, but also with all the other souls of the human world. Here in this other world, this world of souls. And so I come back down to the sky, past the stars and the moon, through the clouds, through the roof, into this room, into this body. Within myself, I feel quite different. I feel full, recharged, free. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Rachel, for the wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. Before we go, there's a few announcements. The next week, the next week event is same time, same place, and the topic is staying joyful through trials. We do have a Sunday morning meditation, which is every Sunday, and that's online only, 10 to 10:45. New Raj Yoga meditations course starting up on 1st of December, and that's online only, and that's the fast track, so it's 7 days, starts from 1st December, Monday to 7 December, and timing for that is 6 to 7 in the morning. So whoever wish to join, you can register through our website, so you will get a link. Our regular reflective meditations every Mondays and Thursdays in-house, 7 to 7:30, so everybody's welcome on that. And based on this evening's theme, we have a very good book called Living in Freedom. So it's available in the shop. You can browse out. So once again, thank you for joining us, and thank you to all our online viewers as well. And have a safe journey back.